Yo, 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 my friends. Miko and Maria Davidovsky here, coming back with another video. Today's topic: what is spiritual, or what is spirituality, and what do you eat it with, so to speak? I get this question quite often. If I do this, is it spiritual? If I do that, is it spiritual? If I do this, will it stop me on my path? If I do that, will it hinder my progress? Oh, my friends. Spirituality isn't exactly about doing certain things or not doing certain things. The most important aspect, if you wish to go into the path of spirituality, is that you first acknowledge who you are. And you allow yourself to be yourself, because only from the space of being yourself and having the desire to unite with God, only then can you start actually making any progress to it. Because if you're forcing yourself as you're rejecting yourself, you're going to become more and more compulsive with time. And in regards to any actual actions that should be taken, you know what is the right thing to do. You've all heard it many times from many different channels, from many different sources. But it isn't the action itself that matters within it as much as what you focus and concentrate upon as you do it. You know, I could sit here all day long, 8 hours straight, and meditate and think about dinner the entire 8 hours, and that would be equivalent to meditating for 0 minutes. And I could stand straight, completely devoid of all thought, fully focused upon God, with my heart, my mind, and my being, and that would be a meditation, and that would count. You see, I would say in the beginning, in the very beginning stages, when your concentration, let's just say, is not as developed or as not as strong, you probably have to sit down in order to be able to focus upon God, in order to be able to meditate upon God. But as you develop your concentration, it boils down to three things: for God, in God, through God. You've heard me say it before, I'm sure. So, first you sit down, you meditate upon God. Once you establish your connection, that you can maintain your concentration upon God, you start little movements. You start to move the body a little bit as you maintain your attention upon God. And as you develop that, then you start doing things in the world. Because it's not so much about being able to sit for 12 hours straight and concentrate upon God. That's just actually pretty easy. The biggest trick is being in the world with everything happening that you perceive to be the world. That's a mistake in itself, I'll talk about in a minute. But being in the world, doing things, having a job, having a career, having relationships, friendships, emotions, thoughts, having all of that. And whilst having all of that, maintaining your concentration upon the divine, upon God. That is what is spirituality. And then when you cultivate that and develop that type of concentration and awareness, then every action is spiritual. Because as long as you maintain your focus upon God and you interact with the world through God, and you interact with God here, not with a tree, but with God, but you're not worshipping the tree as God. Your concentration is up on God, and from there it goes back down to interact with the tree in a godly manner, let's just call it, in the best way that's possible for you at the moment. I hope that makes sense to you, my friend. So you're not interacting with the world anymore, because there is no world. That's the fallacy. It's like the moment you start perceiving the world as the world, you get lost in the world and you interact with the world. But the moment you focus upon God and you're concentrated upon God and you go through God into this world, then you start to interact with the entirety as God. I hope that is clear. So there isn't any one action that would be inherently right or inherently wrong in regards to, how would I call it properly, attaining or being spiritual. Because spirituality is your daily life. It's not about having 1 hour cut out once a day and during that time you're spiritual, and then for the rest of the day you carry on with your daily life. That's not it. You're separating the two, and unless you make spirituality your daily life, then you're never gonna actually get anywhere, because you're just playing more and more games of separation. And of course, as long as you perceive the world as the world and you're not having your concentration upon God, you're gonna see the world as the world, because that's what you're gonna see. But the moment you start to constantly focus upon the divine 24/7, then you start to interact with the world in a different manner, in a different way. You're moved by the Spirit of God, you could say. And from that space, then you start to interact with God directly here, not here. You're here concentrated, but the interaction is here at this point. And you start to realize that all the people that you talk with or come into contact with, they're all God. And all the objects that you come into contact with, they're all God. But not because you're perceiving them as these objects, but you're maintaining the concentration upon God, and from God, through God, you interact with them on a godly basis. And so the question would arise, it's like, okay, how do I do this? Well, very simple. Concentrate. Develop your concentration. In my eyes, that's absolutely the most important thing that one can do in their life. Continuously develop your concentration. Avoid things that destroy your concentration. And it's that simple. And then, as you develop your concentration, concentrate upon God. I think I already covered the topic of having two masters. If you focus upon God, you see God, and therefore you work towards God. But if you start thinking about money, if you start thinking about career, if you start thinking about other things, well, then you're scattering yourself everywhere. You're scattershot yourself, like a shotgun. And so you don't get anything done because energy goes all over the place. But then if you're fully in God and you go to the world through God, then you do everything in a godly way, and everything will always be provided. Don't worry about what you will eat, what you will wear, and where you will sleep, because all that will be provided. Of course, after having certain mystical experiences, let's just call it, or enlightenment experiences, it's much, much easier to understand and see that, because you see the connection directly with the ultimate, with absolute. But until then, the best you can do is focus upon God the best that you can. Direct your attention upwards as much as possible, as high as possible, and eventually you're gonna reach it. Because as you work, you're gonna go higher and higher and higher, and eventually you're gonna see it. But if you need to go higher, there is a game that you're playing, because everyone has access to God at all times. God is available to everyone, always. Always. Because God is always present with us. Because absolutely everything is God. And if you can't focus upon God, that means you're just playing a game with yourself. And then you gotta ask yourself why you're playing this game. Blessings be upon you, my friend. I wish you an absolutely wonderful day. Leave a comment. Let me know what other topics would you like me to cover. And have a good one. See ya.